This video is brought to you by Morgan. Today I'm speaking to all the multi-passionate creatives out there who have multiple businesses, have their hands in multiple things and hobbies, and they just want to do it all. And then when they're told to focus on one thing for the rest of their life, they feel like a part of them dies inside. Like, I totally get that. I think we have to embrace who we are because constantly fighting against that multi-passionate nature is not very self-compassionate to ourselves and doesn't get us anywhere. And we ended up just like hating life and wanting to do a lot of different things. And I think we should. And I think it's okay as long as we have some systems and processes set up to help us do that. So that is what I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to share my systems for staying organized, managing two businesses, only two right now. I have had so many businesses to my name. I kind of call it my abandoned graveyard of multiple businesses because it's just like the carnage of, a multi-passionate entrepreneur that is in my past. But right now I have two. So this one that you are seeing right now, so it started out as like Creative Savings, which is a frugal living blog back in like the heyday of blogging. And then I transitioned to my personal brand, kalynbrook.com, where I talk more about time management, productivity, and lifestyle stuff. And then I also, like last year, maybe a year and a half ago, got onto YouTube where I started sharing more about Notion. I sell Notion templates. So that's kind of how this business has evolved. My other business is an RV travel brand called Open Roading that I manage with my husband because I've been traveling and living full-time in an RV for almost 6 years now, which is so crazy. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers on that channel. So go subscribe over there, help us get to that goal, and subscribe here. Like if you're interested in productivity and planning and habits and personal growth and just being a better person and also like nerding out about Notion together, you are going to love this channel. So yeah, subscribe to both channels. I know I'm giving you multiple call to actions, which isn't necessarily a smart business move, but you can handle it. Now, I will be honest, I have been on the struggle bus when it comes to managing multiple businesses because it is difficult. Like, I'm not going to lie, it's not easy. And sometimes you will go slower because you're not focused on that one thing. I know like there's books out there, The One Thing and Essentialism and things that try to get you to be very minimal about what you do because you're going to grow a lot faster if you have just one thing to focus on. And I take that approach with my goals. I don't necessarily take that approach when it comes to like my lifestyle. I've spent a lot of time thinking that I should and being upset with who I am and having that multi-passionate nature. And I just, over the last 6 months, I've been trying to embrace that a lot more and try to figure out, well, how can I have my hands in multiple things and still make it work? So that's what I'm going to share with you today. I don't have it all figured out. Sometimes I get really overwhelmed and I can kind of fall back into burnout. But these 5 things that I'm going to share with you help me kind of stay on that straight and narrow and at least feel like I've got most of it together. Okay, my first tip is to not do everything for every business on every platform. I know that like to be a successful business owner, you think that you have to have an email list and a blog and a YouTube channel and an Instagram and a TikTok and threads and what people are on Blue Social now. Is it Blue Social? Blue Sky? See, I don't even know what they're called anymore because there's so many that are popping up and you don't have to be on all of them. In fact, I would say being on fewer platforms and then just focusing on them and make sure you're maximizing the best practices on those platforms is going to help you get farther than like spreading yourself too thin. So when it comes to multiple businesses, you want to think about, okay, what platforms make sense for that business? For RV travel, that's a very visual thing. So YouTube is actually our biggest income generator over there. Whereas I haven't even really started a website or a blog yet because I don't know that I'm going to get the return on my investment, at least right now. So I'm not even worried about that. So I'm focused on YouTube, a little bit of Instagram. Over on the Kalyn Brook side, I've completely ditched my Instagram because it wasn't growing. I wasn't having fun with it. And it just wasn't necessary for how I'm growing my business. Now, if I set aside a ton of time and bought courses and spent months and doing batch recording reels and being on like 10 stories every single day, could I make some money from it? Maybe, but it's going to be a lot more difficult than what I'm currently doing, which is building my email list, which is where a lot of my sales come from, building my YouTube channel, which has a high conversion rate when it comes to promoting my Notion templates. So, like, those platforms make sense for Kalyn Brook rather than necessarily open roading. So, all that to say, I want you to be really strategic about what platforms you appear on and don't feel like you have to be on every single one for each business or hobby or whatever you're doing. If you do find that you need to be on the same platform for multiple businesses, then make sure you can stick to a consistent schedule for each so that you are showing up regularly and it's not just like, oh, I'm just making a video when I have time for this channel, because that is not a way to grow. Now, on open roading, we actually have a weekly cadence, which works really well. We actually do 2 videos a week. So one of the videos is a member exclusive videos. We're playing around with YouTube memberships, testing that out, seeing how it works. And so our YouTube members get a shorter, more exclusive video over there. On this channel here, I am focused on about an every other week cadence because that is what I can stick to in terms of filming for this channel, whereas more of my filming energy goes into my travel brand. If I was trying to do a weekly video here and a weekly video over there, which I did do for 3 to 4 months before I totally burned out, yeah, it just wasn't a good idea. So stick to a cadence that you can do consistently if you do happen to be on the same platform for multiple brands. Okay, this next one, this second tip is super simple, but very effective. And it's color coding. And I know how much we productivity nerds and planning nerds love our color codes. So whether you're using a paper planner or a digital tool, you need to assign color codes to the different categories of your life, like home and personal, and maybe family and kids. And when it comes to businesses, for sure have them in separate colors because it is going to give you just a visual at a glance look of what you have to do for each business. So let me show you what that looks like for me in Notion. In my personal dashboard, this is going to be the easiest place to see all those different colors. So you can see here that I have my tasks in a list view grouped by the category. I have a lot of different task views that I go through, but this one will show you that I've got black, like a simple black icon for anything that is related to Kalyn Brook. I have red for anything related to my travel brand, and then I also have purple for anything that it fits under the home and personal category. I only have 3 categories that are using different color codes, and I would highly recommend that you limit it to like 3 to 4, maybe even 5. Please don't use all the 8 colors that Notion provides for you if you're trying to color code all of your different tasks. I just think it's a lot harder because it's like more information for your brain to process. So if you simplify it, bring it down to like 3 or 4, then you're going to be able to know like automatically at a glance once you see that color what it relates to. So up here I also have some new task buttons for each of those 3 categories. So anytime I click this button, it is going to open up the page and it will automatically apply some properties that I preset. So like setting the status to current, the priority high, and it's already assigned to me, and then I can figure out the due date, category, etc. Now, as you're thinking about the tasks that you have to do for the week for each business, it might be helpful for you to not just brain dump all your tasks for everything, but to go category by category. Like business number 1. What do you need to do related to the content calendar? What do you need to do for marketing? What do you need to do for email and administrative tasks? Think of everything that you have to do that week for that one business and then move on to the next business or the next category, then move on to the home and personal category. I find this is like so much more helpful, and it sort of like gives your brain a nice little organized workflow where it doesn't go a little crazy or get super overwhelmed by everything that you have to do across the board. And it's also going to give you a good idea on how much you have for each category so you don't overwhelm yourself with like this massive workload, and you can keep it manageable. Because the more businesses that you have to manage, the easier it is to overcommit. So that's just a little fail safe. My third tip, and probably the thing that has helped me out the most when it comes to managing multiple businesses, is to use day theming and to say, okay, Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm going to work on Kalyn Brook. Tuesday and Thursdays, I'm going to work on open roading. And then Fridays is a catch-all day, and whatever I need to do for either business or home and personal life that I haven't done yet, that's where it's going to go. Because you're going to be in a different headspace depending on which business you're working on. And I was driving myself nuts. Absolutely nuts. Going from creating a thumbnail for a travel channel to writing the Monday Files email newsletter to going in and answering emails. Like, it was just not good. And my brain was doing that whole task switching thing, and it wasn't very efficient. Like, I just wasn't being productive. So now when I can set aside one business and say, okay, Monday, I'm not thinking about anything related to growing my travel brand. I am totally focused on Kalyn Brook and my YouTube and the products that I'm going to create and Notion. And it's just like so much easier. So the tool that has helped me kind of stick to this has been Morgan. And I've talked about Morgan before. It is my favorite digital calendar app. And let me show you how this works inside of Morgan, because I'm using one of their newer features, their AI frames, to kind of just automatically say which tasks I'm going to work on which day. So let me go over to a fresh new week that doesn't have a lot of stuff in it, and you can kind of see a baseline for my week. And if you want to know like how I did this and how I get it to recur and what like all this stuff means, you want to watch my video called How to Create Your Ideal Week. I'll walk you through step by step how to do that, so that then you can just basically drag and drop your tasks into the calendar. It's my favorite way to time block and just kind of like work through my schedule throughout the day. So what I have here are these frames, what Morgan calls frames. And on Monday and Wednesday morning, I have a KB Deep Work frame, and I can set frame parameters. So I go in to edit that, and you can see anything where the priority is high, the energy is high, or medium, because that is when I'm at my best, is like at this time frame right now in the mid-morning, and where the status is set to this week, and where categories or anything related to creating content for my KB brand or a sprint slash project task. So I've got all of these frames with the parameters set up. I've done the same thing for open roading on Tuesday and Thursdays. And then in the afternoon on Monday and Wednesdays, it's the shallow work, the email responses, the itty bitty little things that you do in your business that just kind of not necessarily moving your business forward, but they're back end stuff that you just have to do to keep things flowing. So what I can do is when I've done all the work of planning my week and figuring out what tasks I want to do, I can go in here and click AI Planner, and it is going to automatically fill in the tasks based on the parameters that I have set. Now, I can say how far I want to plan ahead for this. I can say whether I want to take breaks. I can say what the default duration for a task is, like maybe it's 30 minutes, but then I can also go in and right click and change the estimate of the time for just one task. And I can move these around and say, no, I actually want to plan my video over here, and I want to schedule it over here, and just kind of like play around with it until I get it to where I want it to be, and then I can click schedule all. So it helps save a lot of time, and I don't have to be necessarily manually dragging and dropping and thinking about like, okay, well, this is an open roading task. This goes in a Tuesday box or a Thursday box. Morgan AI Planner will do it for me, and then I can say, nope, I don't think I want to do that then, and I can switch things around, but at least gets it started. It wasn't until I started theming my days that I found so much peace in my business, and I actually started to think, maybe I don't have to give one of these up. This could actually work because my brain wasn't wasting time trying to catch up and put myself in like the business mode that I needed to do. So I love Morgan for this, and if you want to try Morgan as well, it's completely free to like test out their features. But if you fall in love with it, which I really think you are going to, because it is like, it's the best, honestly, it's the best digital calendar app I have used, so much better than Google Calendar or Notion Calendar. You can get 15% off an annual plan with the code Kalyn15. I'll leave a link below for you to do that. And it integrates so beautifully with Notion. So like I said, you can just drag and drop your Notion tasks right into the planner, or you can use the Notion AI planner and it will drag and drop those for you and give you suggestions on how you want to plan out your week. So thank you so much, Morgan, for continuing to be a valued partner of this channel. All right, tip number 4 is to hire out what you can. And this one is a difficult one for me. It probably is difficult for those of you who are type A perfectionists and don't want to delegate, and like the horrors of thinking of someone else doing something as well as you can do it. Yeah, it's very hard. And it's something I am still in the process of learning. But it's literally one of the only ways I think you can make a lot of traction if you have multiple businesses, because you are only one person. You cannot do everything, even though we want to do everything. Now, you can have your hand in a lot of different pots, but you can't, like, let's see, I guess we'll follow this analogy. You can't make the whole meal all the time. I don't know. That might be really stupid, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it's worth it to hire out the things that you don't necessarily have to do so that you can stick to the things that only you can do and do well. And that's going to really help grow your business. So it might be helpful to just start thinking about and like listing out all the tasks that you do on a regular basis, and like think about what you can only do and what you could teach someone else to do. I have a pretty extensive SOP database in Notion, which is just short for standard operating procedures, that anytime I do a task that I think, okay, this is a repeating task, this is going to be done more than once at some point, and someone else could just follow directions and get it done. Like, it's not like I can replace myself in a YouTube video, although they're coming out with some really serious AI clone stuff that is a little freaky to me. But someone could respond to a customer service email and it doesn't have to be you. And as long as you just have kind of like the rules and guidelines that you want someone to follow. So anytime that I go through a process that I think will be repeated, I either film a video, or my favorite is to actually just do screenshots, because it's so much easier to like update screenshots than to redo like a whole video if something changes in terms of the instructions. And once you make those hires, you're going to be able to focus on the things that you do best, like creating more content, creating more products, marketing yourself, marketing those products, things that you're really good at, and you can let someone else handle the more administrative stuff. I'll go through quickly the different hires that I have right now. And one is the YouTube editor. This is actually most recent. So my husband used to edit all of my YouTube videos, and then we started, of course, a whole other brand where he's editing 2 videos a week. And so I took it over a little bit, but it's not my strong suit. And it's not something I really enjoy. So I have started working with an editor to edit my videos, which is not bad price-wise since I'm only doing about 2 videos a month. And then I have an executive assistant that handles all my email, handles like broken links on the website. She's updating those. She's writing some like more announcement type emails for me. She does a lot of back end stuff that it's like, hey, I don't necessarily want to take the time to do this. Can you do it? Here's the SOP to do it. And she just takes it on. It is wonderful. I think one of the hangups we can have, besides the fear of delegating and having someone else do something that we've just always done, is the fact that we have to hire full time. Get that notion right out of your head. You can have someone like for 5 hours a week and it's fine. Like, the tasks that they do, if it only takes 5 to 10 hours a week, that's not going to cost your business a lot. And you could meanwhile be working on things that are going to bring in more income for your business because you freed up that time. And a lot of people are just looking to make a little bit extra money on the side, so they don't mind limited hours during the week. When it comes to finding someone to hire, I'm not an expert at this, but I'll just tell you what I have done. First, I've created a Google Doc that lists out the things that they should be doing. And sometimes it's like, you need to be a unicorn and have your hands in all these different things. Because a lot of times in an online business, you have someone who is like not just managing email, they're doing a whole bunch of other things. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So I usually have the skill set that I think they need to do all those things, all the responsibilities, of course. And then I just send it out to my email list. I send it into or to friends or social media. Like, do you have someone in mind that you think you could send this way? You can also create a Google form for someone to actually apply if you don't want them to necessarily just email you, like you're looking for specific information, like you want them to upload a resume or, their credentials or anything like that. You can do that that with a Google form. You can also check Fiverr or Upwork. So I actually do work with a guy on Fiverr for open roading. He's a thumbnail designer. And if there's a thumbnail that I'm like, oh, this would be really cool, but I don't think I have the skills to do this in Photoshop. Can you please like bring together what I'm envisioning? And he will do it. And it's not like a bad price at all. So that is an option as well. All right, number 5, we're on the last tip. And this one, guys, I'm still working on this one. I still need to be reminded of it every single day. And that's to make time outside of work. Have a life outside of work. And the reason why I struggle with this, and maybe you struggle with it too, I find that a lot of creatives that are my friends and colleagues struggle with this because we love our work. We love like getting up in the morning, opening your laptop and creating something. Like that is so exciting. And when someone says you need a day off, we're like, no, that feels like a punishment. But if we don't take time off, if we don't have hobbies that we don't have to monetize, that is a thing. I have to tell myself, you don't have to monetize every single hobby. It's going to make you a better, well-rested person who's going to be even more creative when you go back to that laptop and create your work. I saw someone say that they, as an entrepreneur, they traded a 40-hour-a-week work job for an 80-hour-a-week self-employment job. And it's so true. If you're not careful, you can work late into the night. You can work over a lunch break and not even take a lunch. Like, how guilty are we? I'm guilty of grabbing my sandwich or salad or whatever and like sitting in front of my laptop and still working. So I'm working on this. I'm trying to figure out a way to have a little bit more balance, because that's going to help go a long way into not burning out and wanting to just quit everything. So definitely have boundaries for yourself. Know when you're going to open the laptop, know when you're going to close the laptop. This is why I have a startup and shutdown routine, because I know exactly what I'm going to do when I open my laptop. I know exactly what I need to do before I close the laptop. It's checking in on notifications, responding to DMs, responding to emails. And then also have maybe like a phone, like so much of our business is on our phone. So maybe have some phone boundaries too. Like I'm trying to stick to the nines, like not doing my phone before 9 a.m., not doing it after 9 p.m. And that is really helpful for me to like look around and be like, oh wow, there is a life outside of my screen. I think it's really helpful also to have a list of things that you can turn to at the end of the day when you're done with work, things that you are looking forward to that you actually want to do. And I actually created my own list for this because sometimes I got to that point where I close my laptop and I'm like, I know I'm not supposed to be working. There's things I could do, but I'm not supposed to. What should I do next? And it just helps me to have a list. So I have created that on my notes app on my phone, and it's called an evening activity menu. And it's things that maybe I don't necessarily make time for. They're things I would like to do, and I just need to be reminded that I can do these things, like go take a walk as a form of commute, when you're done with working, to sort of transition back into the home and personal life. Maybe do some meal prep and like make a fun snack for the next day that you can have during work. Or you can watch a movie or a show and do something with your hands and like do adult coloring. Or for me, I like to crochet or cross stitch or one of those needle type crafts. I think it helps you feel like you're relaxing, but you're still doing, because I feel like we're going to have very similar personalities. That's probably why you're here on this channel. And we have a hard time relaxing. We have a hard time not working. And so it helps to have something to do with our hands while we're watching something else. I actually like to do those things while I'm listening to a podcast or an audio book as well. And of course, you can always read a book. Like how many of us say we want to read more books? Use that time to read. And it doesn't always have to be a book to help you at work. It can be fiction, like Lose Yourself in a Fiction Novel. That is one of my favorites, just to escape from the daily work grind and give you a little bit of relaxation. Just know that I am still working on this myself. I am not perfect, but I want to remind you just as much as I want to remind me that life is not all about hustling, and we can't sustain the hustle long term. Now, what I don't want you to take away from this video is that I've got it all managed perfectly, that I am managing multiple businesses and I am doing fine. That is not the case. I drop a lot of balls, and that's why I harp over and over again that you have to know your priorities. You have to know what tasks are high, what tasks are low, the difference between the two, what is really truly essential to move your business forward so that you can let the plastic balls drop and it's okay. They can keep bouncing and you can pick them up later when you need to. I have a whole video about how to prioritize and kind of my process for how I put the tasks in the different categories and what's actually essential and what's not. So I'll link to that video below so you can watch that next. But the main thing that I want to get across to you today is you don't need to feel bad about your multi-passionate nature. It is not a flaw, and I think embracing that about yourself and telling yourself that you like to keep things fresh and you like to dabble in a lot of things and those things bring you enjoyment, that's going to go a long way to relieving that guilt and shame that you feel and not suppressing that about yourself. So that's what I want you to take away from today. You can still be successful with your business even if people are telling you, hey, you know what, you're spreading your focus, you're not going to be as successful. It's not true. With the two businesses, I will say that we have had a better financial year in 2024 between the two businesses than I ever did in my 12 years of just the Kalyn brand. So it is possible. You can be successful. You can manage multiple businesses. And I would love to hear about the businesses that you manage in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please let me know. Give this a like, give this a subscribe, and I can't wait to chat with you in the next video.